Hey, what's up everybody? I wanted to do something different today. I've been wanting to FPV something other than a mini quad for a while. Kind of had the choice between a boat, a plane, or a car. And yeah, don't have anywhere to use the plane, don't have access to a lake, so I went with the car. Got the DJI system in here. It's a Losi Super Baja Ray version 2. It's a 1/6 scale truck. It's about 25 pounds, just under 3 feet long, about 1.5 feet wide, and almost a foot tall. It's a pretty big truck. It runs on 8S or 6S. Did a couple dry runs, line of sight on 6S, and it's got some power. So went ahead and put the FPV system in there. If you want to go ahead and skip to just the driving portion, I will put a link in the video or a timestamp for fast forwarding to that. But I'm going to go over the truck and the build really quick, just for anybody that's interested. The truck goes for about $8.99. They're kind of hard to come by, but they are definitely worth it. It runs the Spectrum series of receivers and transmitters, which, I mean, you know, Spectrum, the range isn't that great, but I think even running DJI with the amount of obstructions that I'm going to get running it on the ground, I'm probably going to be able to outrun the video with the controller. I did a quick run earlier in front of the house with FPV, ran pretty good. I remounted the camera in the truck was a little high. I've got a section to put a GoPro on the passenger side, because a full-size GoPro 7, 8, or 9 will actually fit inside the truck, kind of in the passenger area. I'm hoping the DJI footage on the air unit is going to be usable, even though it's unstabilized, because I just want to run the air unit to keep the weight down, and it's securely mounted for now. So I think that's what I'm going to try and do. So probably later in the video, you'll see a mix of GoPro footage and air unit. If you see anything shot from the driver's side, obviously that's the FPV feed that I'm driving with on the air unit. Anything on the passenger or navigator side is going to be shot on a GoPro 7 Black with stabilization turned on. So we'll just have to kind of see, you know, how the two footages compare and what's usable and what's not. The nice thing about Spectrum is it does have stability and traction control built into the transmitter. You can adjust with a knob, as well as like a brake gain, and then both throttle and steering trim. I've been running it on 6S on 50 or 75% throttle limit. And again, it's an 8S truck. Even on 6S with a 75% throttle cap, it'll still spin all 4 tires on pavement like super easily. So there's a huge amount of suspension travel. It drives real scale. That's kind of, I wanted something big that had a lot of body roll, that would feel like you were driving the real thing when you were using an FPV. So that's why I went with this big of a truck. I got the body undone. There's like 20 bolts that hold the body on to the interior roll cage. So I'm going to take the body off and just kind of show you the FPV setup right now. Set that aside. Okay, so currently I've got the driver's head, which actually unbolts. This is just a Lexan tray, single bolt M3. Replace that with this cool DJI air unit mount I got on Etsy. It's made of like a hard PLA type plastic, so it's really sturdy. I mean, it's solid. I went ahead and cut it where the camera mount is versus the air unit mount, and mounted the FPV camera up there. You can see there's a couple holes from trial and error on getting the driving position right. We've got the other half, the air unit, mounted in the center, right behind where the ESC is located. No fan on it right now, so that's probably something I'm going to have to do in the future just to keep the air unit temperature down. I think even with the truck's supposed to be capable of like 55, 58 miles an hour on 8S, I don't know if that's going to be enough airflow to keep the air unit cool. You know, I don't want it to go into temperature shutdown. And I just have the factory air unit antennas on right now, which will be contained within the body. That way, if I roll it, I should be able to minimize the damage to the FPV stuff. In the future, if range becomes an issue, I'll probably mount, you know, an MMCX to coax and mount long whip antennas in the back. You know, something that I use on the bigger, like, you know, on my FR10 to get some better range. But I'm hoping for right now, this will do it enough to just be able to cruise around the park and maybe run some tracks, and then that way it's all contained within the shell of the body, which is super durable. I mean, yeah, I think it's just safer that way. I'm also running the air unit on a 3S or a 4S 450 mAh XT30, just hardwired in right now. Probably at some point I will step down the 8S voltage of the truck into a PDB and run a flight controller. That way I can mount a GPS on here, you know, get battery voltage of the truck and the goggles in real time, get a home point location if I'm fortunate enough that Spectrum Team Failsafe can get me out far enough that I wouldn't be able to find my way back, you know, if I'm out west running in the salt flats or something like that. You know, the truck gets up and go, and you can get away from yourself pretty quick, you know, even on 6S, you know, it cruises. So pretty happy with the setup so far. I'll put a link in the description to the Etsy products for the air unit mount. I also got on eBay a rear chassis brace. Anybody that's familiar with this truck knows there's a lot of rear suspension flex in the spare tire area, and most of the braces are a clamp that goes here made out of hard plastic, or a steel bar like the one I have here, but this is like PLA. I wanted something kind of in between. You know, the steel, you get a hard backing crash that can actually rip the mounts out of these horizontal stabilizer bars right here, just because the bar is stronger than the frame itself. This is all like hard plastic. So I'm hoping that, you know, in a really serious hard impact, the brace will give before the bolts and the frame does, and then I can just replace the brace. But it definitely is going to help the handling of the truck. The first time out line of sight, I left the preload factory, which it was really soft, almost no preload on the front, minimal on the rear. I went ahead and added, I think I'm running 12 millimeters of preload in the front as measured in between the collar and the top of the shock mount, and I think I'm at 14 in the rear. The spring's not maxed out in full travel. You can see I hit the bump stop and I've still got a little compression in the spring, which is what you want, so that you're not compressing the spring fully before the shock is compressed. You know, the rear is not even close. I did order a set of medium springs just in case that's not enough. You know, I'm not gonna be jumping this truck super radical. It's FPV. I'm gonna try and run it just, you know, kind of scale, kind of Baja scale. So yeah, I think it's gonna be cool, guys. I'm gonna put some footage out at the park later today, give it a rip FPV proper in its element in the grass and the sand, kind of see what happens. So yeah, I will cut to that right now. All right, what's up, guys? So we are at the park. I ended up switching the air unit from the mounting position inside. I went ahead and put a 20 centimeter cable on to extend that out, mount that behind the radiator shroud, and that will give me a little bit better cooling. It's still relatively protected. So what I'm going to do right now is do a quick line of sight function check, and then probably do one lap around here on 50 and then 75%, and then we're going to go FPV. So let's give it a shot. Okay, we got steering, we're at 50%. Okay, that is 50%. We're gonna up it to 75. So yeah, she hustles on 75. That is, traction control is about halfway and brake is about halfway. So I'm gonna go ahead and hook up the FPV stuff and give it a shot.